Welcome back to the Will I Vike It podcast. Today I'm at Moorforge Viking Settlement and my guest is Hamish from Pictavia Leather.
Pictavia.
And I know I've said it right this time. And so we're kind of in the middle of running a course at the minute between us. So we've been doing some deer butchery and cooking yesterday. And today Hamish is teaching everyone, including me, how to tan some lovely sheepskins, which we've got here. So if you see me in camp in future and I'm sleeping, blame Hamish.
You'll be warm anyway.
So yeah, welcome to the podcast, as they say.
It's nice to be on.
So we'll just chat a bit about kind of what you do with your Pictavia Leather stuff, and maybe a bit about how you got started. We can start with you.
Cool.
Just
So what I do mostly is kind of museum replica pieces, all based around mostly Pictish history, but kind of insular British, Saxon, Nordic, Pictish, Scottish, Irish kind of stuff. Mostly museum replica pieces. I build coracles. There's a camping element which we can go into. Anything that's based around that kind of Iron Age to early medieval history. I've got my fingers in, really.
What was it that kind of got you into the history to begin with?
I don't know, just grew up in Aberdeenshire playing on Pictish stones as a kid. You're kind of surrounded by it.
You can't not.
Yeah. And there was a fantastic centre called Archaeolink that when you go in, it's got a huge wall painted with old Pictish warriors, and I'd like to say that had no bearing on my life, but clearly seeing, painted blue men, it had a big effect as a kid.
It's not something, I mostly came across the Picts through yourself, to be honest. And it's not covered quite as well as things like the Vikings, is it?
It's not even covered that well in Scotland.
No.
Yeah, nobody really knows about the Picts, so that's kind of my goal, is to kind of reintroduce people to the Picts. Just get people connecting with the symbols that are on the stones and the history around, and Viking history is just as much as part of Scotland as well, but it's to see how it all ties together and how the cultures work together as well. It's
kind of difficult as well, isn't it? Because with both our periods, we're kind of working between sort of not a lot of information really, and trying to piece together. So you don't. I think you said to us yesterday, you don't really have like academic background, as it were. You're more of a hands-on kind of.
Yeah, I've come at it as a craftsman, so I spend a lot of my free time, reading excavation reports and PhD thesis and trying to get the academic context behind what I'm doing. But I'll never understand it as well as an archaeologist. So it's nice to get information from archaeologists that we can then do the craft side and meet in that middle, which I think where we really start learning stuff.
I think previously it was kind of frowned upon, like the experimental side, wasn't it? But whereas now I think it's starting to be taken a bit more seriously.
I mean, the centre in Dublin has done wonders for experimental archaeology. I'd love a programme set up in Scotland. And more archaeologists are coming to the idea that craftsmen can be really valuable in putting artefacts together that fills in more context for them. So,
how did you start with the leatherwork itself? Was that self-taught? Or?
Yeah, self-taught. So I actually started when I was bedbound for kind of 2 years with back operations and needed something to stay busy. So I was going mad with my mind and nothing to do with my hands. So I picked up leatherwork. So everything I do, I can do whilst lying in bed. That's how I learned everything.
It's a tough job.
I call it otter style of working off my tummy, sort of thing. And then when I kind of recovered, I'd fallen in love with leather, and it's a material that speaks to me. I find when you're crafting, you're trying to speak to your material and tell it what you want it to do, and not all materials speak back to you. So leather speaks back. It's quite nice. So it's I say when I'm working with leather, it's a conversation I'm having all the time. It's nice. That's what I'm trying to teach here. People to have the right conversation with their hide and ask the right questions and know how to answer them. And
it's that thing as well of like honouring an animal, isn't it? Like if we're going to use it, often I throw the skins away because it's not knowing how to process them properly and having the time as well, to be honest. But to be able to take something and not just put it in the bin, as the guy at the butchery told me yesterday, he's thrown away 60 hides.
It's
a lot of work though.
Most hides get incinerated in the UK, and if not, then they get shipped off to be chrome tanned. So just the knowledge of tanning has disappeared, and the industry of leatherworking's declined a lot. So it's just trying to reintroduce some of that and reconnect the cycle of craft, which I like talking about a lot, between tanners and leatherworkers. And the cooking, the butchery has gone so well together with the tanning. It's lovely to see. So it's just another element for me to build up that community aspect.
And we found out today that I can also use the waste product from making acorn coffee in my tanning process. So it's not even a dirty job, is it? It's like very clean. And
when you said, I have acorn coffee, I'm like, well, I'm using acorns to tan the hides. So it's
perfect.
It was great.
And we've got the weather for it. It's very warm today.
It's what we need to dry these, so yeah.
Yeah, so we're in the process of doing these ones here. I don't know, shall we talk a bit about the process, or are we going to keep that secret for the...
Well, we can go into it. So yeah, these hides have been skinned and fleshed and washed, and then it's just a process of adding tannic acid, which is through boiled up barks or plant materials, anything with a high tannin content.
Yeah.
So we're using acorns, and we also have a mixed bag of birch oak and willow bark. Boiling that up and just rubbing it in with a piece of slate, and that's slowly tanning the hides as the layers build up. As it kind of gets wet and dry, and the layers kind of penetrate through the hide, and we'll have a tanned hide by tomorrow.
Which is great.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's so we're not doing this just to show off. We are literally monitoring these as we chat at the moment, because we're in the process.
Yeah.
We need to keep them slightly wet, don't we? So
Yes,
we're making sure they don't dry out too much whilst we're chatting.
So any kind of wet parts we just fold into any dry we fold onto the wet parts and let it equalise a little bit. So,
yeah, beautiful skins.
Yeah.
And they're gonna probably end up with my dog sleeping on it. But
you and the dog. Yes.
Yeah.
It's really nice in here, actually.
That's chill, isn't it?
Yeah, I didn't even notice he had the little outhouse out here. It's really cool.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's used it yet.
It's very cool.
I think the idea is that that's a wealthy
Yeah.
building, and so whoever's sleeping in this room on the end can come out and
it's cool. Yeah.
avail themselves.
Yeah, it's a really nice little coppice he's got here. It'd be nice to kind of do something with it.
Yeah. There's quite a few forageable bits through here as well.
Having someone come in and do some basket weaving.
Yeah.
Great.
I'm sure he did speak to a basket weaver at some point.
If there was thicker bits, I could build a coracle. But yep, we could probably find enough to do a coracle in here.
That would be fun.
Yeah.
Build a coracle, go down to the river.
Yeah.
Or to the sea.
Maybe not.
Back to Scotland.
Yeah. Yeah. Try and get home through the river systems on a coracle.
Oh, it's been a fun weekend.
Yeah, it's been great.
It's good, yeah.
Really nice group of people as well.
Yeah.
That's really nice, and it's been nice. Yeah, tying it all together, and I was quite happy just kind of going through everything yesterday, and yeah.
It's kind of good that we get on all right, because that was a gamble. Booked a course.
Yeah.
Imagine, you could have been a right knob.
More of a knob.
Honestly, everyone that knows you, like mutual friends and stuff, is like, oh, Hamish is lovely.
Oh,
like everyone loves you.
Yeah.
So.
Never know south of the wall.
Loads.
No, because I'd asked like Tom, Caroline, and Jenny,
Yeah.
and they all said the same stuff.
Yeah.
So, and then when you turned up at York, I was like, ah. Yeah.
Kind of get to know someone through their Instagram a lot
Yeah,
these days,
exactly.
don't you too?
So, and it helps. I like that being a kind of public figure,
Yeah.
and that people kind of get an idea, they kind of know what they're getting
Yeah.
as well.
It probably helps if like people here knew who was here before they met us, sort of thing. And
Yeah. Yeah.
if they didn't like you on Instagram, they're not going to turn up to your course, are they?
Yeah, exactly.
It'd be weird if they did.
Yeah, so, yeah, if you get your trolls coming on your courses.
Oh, imagine. Someone turns up just to say, you're a knob, mate.
Yeah. I mean, I'll take the money. It's fine.
So, yeah, they've paid.
Yeah, exactly. No refunds.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think what a lot of people see on like social media is they see all the nice posts, they see all the courses and the traveling, and they think it's great. But then I sometimes put posts like, I have the next month is just 12 hours a day grafting, batch producing this stuff. Like it's not all roses as well.
Yeah.
So it's nice to come out and kind of when people come on courses, they do see the best side of you really.
Yeah.
When you're kind of sharing and you're passionate, and you'll see like when I get going and I get chatting,
Yeah.
just you can kind of need someone to stop me a lot of times.
No, I think people are loving it.
Yeah.
And they're mucking in with the food. And
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
People are hands-on, and that's what people are missing. Just that hands-on, and people are more than willing to get their hands into a deer.
Yeah,
And that's
yeah.
what I like to see. So.
Yeah, they
hides,
tore
a lot
into
of
it
people
yesterday.
think tanning is a mucky, dirty job, but it's a clean job, especially bark tanning. It's antibacterial. It's clean. It's basically tea. So
Staining in my hands a little bit.
Yeah, and
I'm going to have a tan when I go home.
And by the time this tan starts building up, they're going to smell nice, and they're clean hides.
It does smell like a sheep still at the moment.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh yeah.
but I like that.
Yeah.
I'm not against that.
Just beautiful hides, and it's nice to kind of use them and honour them, and
Yeah.
then we'll all have bedrolls for doing this type of stuff, and we'll kit the long haul out as well, so it works for the site. And
Yeah, well,
puts a bit back.
hopefully be building a tannery here at some point, and it'll be a regular thing.
Yeah, I think, and I'm passing here all the time, so I'll pop in. keep an eye on them.
Make sure they're doing it the right way.
Yeah, exactly.
Get their whip out.
Yeah. So it's like people come here and they want to see the community that would have been around.
Yeah.
So having a tannery and the blacksmith and the
Yeah.
butcher and all that, it all ties in, and it's all kind of reproducing that historic community.
Yeah.
Which modern day is lost, really. So,
Yeah, reconnecting. We're lucky enough, the weather's good, so we're all outside.
Yeah.
Tanning hides and just enjoying the sunshine, and everyone's just getting on with it, having a chat.
Yeah.
It's not too much hard work.
Yeah.
A little bit every now and again.
Yeah. You find even in bad weather, like when you're all inside and you're all by candle and firelight working hides as well, you're like, you do really go back in time a little bit.
Yeah.
So I'd much rather be out in the sun, you know, coming down from Scotland. It's quite rare. So
It's been fairly warm for the north of England.
yeah,
It's not bad.
it's been nice for me. So I just enjoy being out working hides. It's nice for me. So a lot of my time is spent in the workshop, hunched over things, doing intricate work.
Yeah.
So it's nice I can come out and just do a bit of grafting and stretch my back out.
I was going to say, it's got to be bad for your back. You mentioned you already had an operation or something.
Yeah, I've had 4 operations on my back, so I have
Do you mind going into what you did?
It's more a genetic thing.
Yeah.
That's quite common. Yeah, it's called pilonidal sinus. It's like ingrown hairs.
Yeah.
Basically, they forms an abscess and they
Yeah.
stick a rod up it, and then they cut all the flesh away, and it has to heal from the inside out.
Wow.
So they're usually like that big, and then
Yeah.
it went to that big, and then it went to that big, and then it went to this big.
Yeah.
And yeah, they remove all that flesh, and then it's just got to heal. So you're just left with nothing there. So yeah, I'm a very scarred man from all the way down.
And that's why you were in bed for so long.
Yeah, and then years of recovery over that. So I do a lot of what I do to manage my health as well. And I've had like stomach operations and stuff too because of it. So
Yeah.
so I was quite an unhealthy man in my younger years. So
Yeah.
the leather work gave me my vitality back.
Yeah.
And gave me a way to like create and produce and put a bit of myself out there when I was stuck indoors so much.
Yeah.
And it just turned into like a silver lining and an absolute passion, and then I can pass that on as well. And I teach a lot of courses as therapy too, which is nice. So I have a lot of people with either mental things or physical things, and they just ask if they can just come and craft. And I'm no therapist, but I say, well, just craft, and you can just kind of like enjoy the therapeutic aspect of working with your hands. And
I think it's just being around other people as well, and just being able to talk to people. It's it's good for your mental health. And
like, you don't have to be healthy to be a craftsman. Kind of, you know, you can work the craft around your health and manage your health for that, and that's what I like about it. I have bad days and I just go, nope, just can't do it. So I'm fortunate to be self-employed that I can just make my own rules and do that. So,
hey, got to take some time for yourself sometimes.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, this got serious, didn't it? We were giggling a minute ago.
Yeah, but
So,
it's nice.
yeah. Yeah. We haven't talked about Pictish stuff much, have we?
We can talk about
I know you
Picts.
like Pictish stuff.
Yeah, I like Pictish stuff.
Should I open that door?
Yeah, we can open the Pictish trapdoor.
Yeah.
Yeah, because what most people don't realise is they have this. We still have this Victorian image of what the Picts are.
Yeah.
These blue painted barbarians fighting the Romans.
So they
and
weren't?
That's completely not the case.
I'm disappointed.
Yeah. So the Picts are the indigenous people of Scotland.
Yeah.
But during the Roman time, they were just loose Celtic tribes, you'd call them, really. And it was through the Roman oppression that they started kind of amalgamating. So the Romans mapped out a lot of the tribes.
Yeah.
But through various campaigns, they started to come together into two main tribes, like the Caledonii and the Maetai, and then they eventually formed, and the Romans started calling them the Picti, where their name came from, which they don't know if it's the painted people or if it
I was going to ask what it meant, yeah.
Yeah, that's one theory. One is that the Britanni, that's where Britain comes from.
Yeah.
They thought maybe it was something to do with that as well.
Yeah.
So the origins are kind of, again, shrouded in this Pictish mystery that's abundant. But the Picti kind of started forming out of this Roman era, but they were really just loose tribes. They weren't a social structure, really. And then in like 410, when the Romans leave Britain, that's when you suddenly have all these power centres forming. You've got Northumbria and Cumbria, and all these kingdoms start forming up. They suddenly don't have this oppression, so all the art style blooms, all the culture blooms, and they all start putting their walls up. And that's when you see the Picts as a nation start to rise.
Yeah.
And this is into the early medieval period, and you've got your Saxons, Welsh, Irish, and the Picts and the Scots in the west as well.
Yeah.
So you start to see this culture and this art style come up, and slightly different systems than they have elsewhere in the British Isles.
Yeah.
So they were one of the last cultures to be Christianised, which is quite interesting, which we see evidence in the stone carvings and some writings. Their kingship system was not patrilinear, it was more matrilinear a lot of the time. So what this meant was, rather than the kingship going father to son, they could choose from the female line and lots of cousins. So there was a wider spread of people to choose from. Families interconnected more, and it meant you had less kind of feudalism in a sense.
Yeah.
Because it's how the kind of Picts and Scots eventually amalgamated. They were the same family, the rulers, and then they.
I was going to say, what happened to them in the end? So they just became the Scots.
They became the Scots. Yeah. What happened is, there was times where the Pictish kings were kind of overlording the Scots, and vice versa. But the families kind of ended up as one and joined. Kind of all started around Kenneth MacAlpin, and that all kind of filtered down into one bloodline that managed to hold both kingdoms together. And what it was is the elite mostly came from Scotland at the time. So the elite were all Gaelic speaking, and they pushed out all the Pictish language, which was P Celtic, which is basically Welsh. And then the elite kind of started to trickle down. The language became Gaelic. A lot of the Pictish culture slowly kind of just faded away a little bit, and it became the Kingdom of Alba. So the Picts never went anywhere. The bloodlines are all still there. But sadly, the last mention is, around the 10th century, of a battle between the Picts and Vikings, and then they were never mentioned again.
Yeah.
Any other mention just became of the Scots and Alba. So it's this kind of shrouded origin mystery, and then this mystery of where they went.
Yeah.
And really, they were already there, and they never went anywhere. So that's the quickest answer.
Yeah.
So I really love celebrating Pictish history, and it survives in the stones and the artefacts the most. But it is all around, and there's very similar things with Irish cultures and Saxon cultures, and where they blended in, and that's what I love to show, is the mix of culture in the time period as well. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
So,
One other question for you before we move on was, it goes back to the leather work really, is obviously you started your leather work in bed, and then you're into history anyway. So how do you get to the point where you're reproducing pieces for museum pieces? Because we haven't got a lot of evidence for many things, have we?
Yeah, I don't know. It's this kind of childhood fantasy that I've somehow managed to, manifest.
Yeah.
Because I started off kind of doing bushcraft stuff, outdoor stuff, inspired by history.
Yeah.
So I'd learned kind of modern leather carving, and I kept doing it and not quite being satisfied. And then I was kind of looking at the stuff in the museum and saying, this doesn't look like that. So I need to get it to look more like that. And just studying and trying different techniques and making my own tools. And I slowly started to just blend from modern to traditional, and then just tailoring that into the historic styles, and just going through the research and any leather finds I could get. Just working it over and over and over to learn. And it's really when I started learning about tanning as well, started understanding my material more. And when I understood my material more, I understood the context behind the history of it, and what people were doing with the leather, how they were producing it, what they were using it for, and the context it can still be used in. So it was really as that all started to come about. So really just the last few years is when I started honing it. So I've been doing this well over a decade, and I feel like I'm just getting started. It's just so much depth and knowledge to go into when you go into the historic side of things. It's a rabbit warren, and it never ends. And I never want it to end,
Life would be boring, I think, if you had all the answers.
Yeah, exactly. And there's all these little avenues like leather flasks, and studying the history of those, and then coracles and where they were used, and looking at the just the different source material as well, and pulling out little facts and then making interpretations based on those facts. And I always say everything I make is my interpretation. It could be completely false.
It's the same with food.
Yeah.
Like, we don't have any cookbooks from the time, so we can't really. There's a few pot samples and things that you can put together, but mostly, and one pot doesn't tell you what everybody was eating, so you still have to interpret based on what you've got. Yeah,
exactly. So it's pulling other cultures and the information together, and making small leaps of imagination will help pull an interpretation in. As long as you don't make massive leaps, you've got a fair, solid resource to say this is my evidence and what I'm backing it on. But it's always conjecture. So we don't know. I'm not a Pict from the 9th century. I'm not.
I'm disappointed. I'm going.
So,
this has been a travesty.
So I have to tell people this. I'm not a time traveller. I'm doing my best here. So
you get it with tents as well, and people go, "Oh, do you live in a tent all year round?" No, I don't live here.
Exactly.
I've got a house. So what, a normal house is what I normally get.
I wouldn't say mine's a normal house.
I was going to say, define normal.
Exactly. It's full of coracles and stuff.
Isn't every house?
But
should be.
I think rather than like we're educating about history, but really we're celebrating it. That's how I like to see what I do. Celebrating the craftsmen that came before me, and trying to learn and solve problems the way they did, and kind of pay a little bit of a homage to them.
And the skills are dying out, aren't they? So
Exactly.
it's a good thing to
Yeah.
keep alive
Yeah.
and pass on. And
Yeah, and it's when I kind of recreate something, it's not about going, oh, look what I've made. It's about going, oh my God, look what this person designed 2,000 years ago. They were a genius.
Yeah.
I've just copied it.
yeah,
You know, that's all. Yeah,
just copies his work.
that's it.
Ah.
Just copycat.
We
going
got
through
him,
museums.
folks. We
Exactly.
finally got him.
That's the trick.
He's just copying
It's just
people.
being a really good copycat. As long as you only copy people that are long dead, then it's fine.
Yeah, it's long enough ago.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think what we'll do is we'll go off and make some food,
Cool.
and we'll carry on our chat when we've got
Yeah.
something nice to eat. It's not going to be authentic today, I'm afraid, guys. We're going to make some curry, but we've got lots of venison.
Yeah.
So we'll make a venison curry. We'll come back in a bit and we'll
Yeah.
carry on with our chat.
Yeah. Some jelly beans for pudding.
Maybe. If you're a good boy and eat all your dinner.
Do all my tanning. Nice.
Right, so we're back several hours after the first record.
Yeah.
We've been working all afternoon. We've made some food, or the participants have.
Yeah.
And so we're just going to eat and you just watch us eat, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're smart teachers. Delegation.
This is like, how do you get away with that eating with a group of people? Just, oh, we're recording a podcast. Go into the woods.
Yeah. Rub the sides. See you in an hour.
Give it a go.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Not quite authentic,
Do you know?
but tasty. Slow cooked haunch.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever made such a big pot of curry.
Yeah.
So yeah, we could discuss a little bit about the Picts and their food, because we didn't cover that earlier.
Yeah.
So tell us everything you know about Pictish food as the
So-
Picts expert.
Admittedly, it's very little. Yeah. Yeah, food's not something I've ever really gone into, which is why I find it really interesting as you come from the food background, so you'll be able
Yeah.
to teach me a lot more stuff, I think.
I
Yeah.
have looked up a little bit about Pictish food.
Yeah.
There's not much to know.
No.
I think from what I'm gathering, it's going to be very similar to what I'm doing with the Saxons and the Vikings.
Yep.
And there is the one thing that says that maybe they didn't eat a lot of fish because the fish, like the salmon of knowledge, might have been a sacred thing, and so maybe they avoided it.
Yeah.
But it seems there's different opinions on whether that's
Yeah.
a thing. I think the evidence is changing all the time, as it always does with these things.
Yeah, I fall either side of the fence, really. It's a good theory. The salmon is carved on a lot of Pictish stones, so it does seem to be quite revered. And yeah, just the lack of fish bone evidence on archaeological sites where we find other bones and things, it does suggest that. But then there has been some fish bones found in the last sort of 2-3 years, but it's not enough to suddenly change that theory. It's
Because
like,
there's the church where they've analysed the bodies,
yeah, that'd be the Isle of May, maybe? I'm not
could
sure, there's
be.
quite a few.
and they've done the isotope analysis.
Yeah.
And most of the people didn't eat fish.
Yeah.
But there's a few people they think maybe were higher status, maybe running the place, that would have had fish, and even possibly for the guests. So I don't know if he felt he was better than everybody else, but
Maybe.
he was eating the salmon of knowledge.
Yeah, very well could be. Because, yeah, just finding a couple of fish bones, suddenly it's not groundbreaking enough to change the theory. I find it quite interesting on Iona, looking at it from the leather perspective, that they found remnants of seal and otter leather. So they were definitely butchering them, skinning them and tanning them. They wonder if they were eating them. Is that a way the clergy got away with not having fish? Going, well, it's in the water, but it's not a fish. We can eat that. So,
Do we have any evidence for, because you make fish leather as well,
yeah.
so have we got any historical evidence for that?
Not here, no. It's more northern Greenland, Inuit, Sami cultures where we see most of the fish skin leather. But it's that whole, like, it's very easily obtainable, it's very easy to tan, it's a very useful material, but yeah, we have no evidence of it here.
And they were seafaring people, so
Yeah.
it's kind of bizarre that, I guess if you've got enough other food, that it's not so important.
Yeah.
But you think must have been people that needed to eat at some point that would have just,
Yeah.
I can fish, I'll eat that.
It's like talking about fashions and things. I get it a lot with kind of dreadlocks. The Picts have dreads, and I say absolutely not. An individual could have, but it's not a fashion that
mass.
we see.
Yeah.
Looking at the artwork and things,
Yeah.
and the stone carvings, no. But there's nothing against the odd individual. So someone who's starving, needs to eat, very well could have been eating fish. But doesn't seem to be the going thing. Yeah.
And there were farmers too, right? So a lot like the Saxons and the Vikings, they were producing cattle and sheep and pigs. And
Yeah, very, very big history of cattle farming. Even pre-Christian, certainly. There's a lot of pre-Christian cattle stones. Up at Burghead, the huge fort up north in Murray, there's like 6 carvings of bulls that remain. I think about 30 that would have been placed all around the hill fort. And like the famous Rhynie man, it looks like he's got a pole axe over his shoulder rather than a fighting axe. And they think that was dispatching cattle. And then when the Christians did come in, a lot of the craft came through the church, and they had kept a lot of cows for producing vellum, and they probably would have been eating that meat as well then. So
it's funny, isn't it? Because you find evidence of the leather and things, which you kind of assume they ate the animal. But we have the same thing with the Vikings and cats.
Yeah.
You know, we know they were skinning cats, so were they eating them?
That's true.
Then you go, well, why weren't they eating them? Because it's you're not going to skin a live cat.
Yeah.
So at that point, what do you? Yeah. Maybe it was for the dogs, dog food.
No cats were harmed in the making of this curry. We can say that at least.
No, but maybe the deer was.
Yeah. So it's always that conundrum of evidence.
Yeah, well, that's the problem. We're constantly trying to sort of adapt the small amounts of, and as we said before, it's changing all the time. And so someone else will come along and say, "We've just found this thing," and well, that throws everything out of the water.
Yeah, it's like music. You know, we can find parts of instruments, but we can't recreate the music they were playing on them.
Yeah, they weren't writing down music sheets or anything like that.
Exactly. So it's trying to find the fine line in that interpretation and look at what they have. So we do have lots of like pollen counts and grain finds and things. So there's plenty of food there, and we know the animals that were abundant to eat. But like the fish, did they really eat it? So
I actually almost, because we had venison, we've made the venison curry, but I almost thought about making you a pork and barley stew. Because I gather they had a lot of barley and stuff as well.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
From my limited amount of research into the Picts, but I did try.
Yeah, no, we'll do that at some point for sure. Yeah.
I realised partway through this that bringing poppadoms to a podcast is not a good idea.
They go down well.
But they do make a bit of a loud noise. I was like, oh wait, I'm crunching over you talking. People could hear it. Crunch, crunch, crunch. We did talk about mentioning tattooing actually, didn't we?
Yeah, we could talk about that, yeah.
And we'll make sure that this goes out after you're allowed to say that.
Yeah.
Go on then. No. So is your work mostly inspired by the Pictish side of things?
Yeah, so I only do traditional tattooing inspired by Pictish artwork. So what I love doing is reconnecting people with the artwork that's on the stone carvings. There's a lot of times people have a Pictish stone in their local town or on the hillside and they've never even gone out to see it. So losing that connection of what the symbols mean, and a lot of the mystery of the symbols is that we don't know what they mean. So we do need to reconnect to that. And there's sources, like there's a Roman source that says the Romans were reading the symbols on the faces of the dying Picts. So they had symbols on their faces, either tattooed or painted. Yeah. And there's lots of mentions of them being tattooed. So it's quite nice to get into that and kind of celebrate that part of the culture as well.
Yeah. So you think it's more likely that they were actually tattooed? Because you said possibly painted, but...
Possibly painted. So I think both, because there's a very good case of do what I say and not as I do, and that's blue tattoos. I absolutely do not believe the Picts had blue tattoos. Right. I'm a firm believer that they probably didn't. Yeah. This whole thing about woad, nope, woad's caustic, you can't really tattoo with it. It burns, very hard to get blue, and the translation of woad is kind of a mistranslation anyway. The word was vitreous, which is glass, and the glass of the times was blue, green and red and all sorts. There's more mentions of red, of being iron marked, and you could be using red ochre and things. So, and in the Book of Kells we see more detailing on the little figures in red. So it's more likely to have red tattoos as well as the common black. And black tattoos do go a little grey blue with traditional inks as well. Yeah. So the blue, I think if there is ever kind of anything to do with blue, I think body paint is a possibility. But I think tattoo in black and red.
So no Smurfs in the Pictish
No,
village.
no Smurfs, I'm afraid. But I grew up on this image as well, and Archeolink with all the painted warriors, and I love the way blue spirals look on a body. And I'm not a 9th century Pict, so I'm gonna enjoy my blue spirals and my fairy locks and be
Call
damned with
yourself
it.
a real Pict,
I
do
know,
you?
exactly. I think people expect me to imbue this whole Pictish kind of atmosphere, and no, I'm very much a modern man as well. So yeah, but tattooing is a fun kind of thing to follow, and it is a nice way to respect the artwork and just another form of leather for me.
I was
Really,
going to say, it's kind of a follow-on from the leather work.
yeah. So yeah, I can tan it, I can carve it, and I can draw on it very well and poke it with ink. So
Like when you're working with the material, this might sound like an odd question, I guess, but is it like quite similar? So working
it's
on
very similar, yeah, in that you know the inconsistencies in skin,
Yeah.
and that translates from living skin to dead skin.
Yeah.
So you get some areas that are hard and won't take ink so well, some that'll just, the ink will just pop right in, and it's the same with carving leather. You feel it with your tools as you're going with it, and tanning too, how it takes the tanning in or not. So it's all interesting to work with. Yeah. And when people are done with their tattoo, I can have it back and tan it. So
Watch this space for future tanned people then.
yeah, that'll be a future course.
How to tan your...
Yeah, how to tan your tattoo or something.
It's actually, yeah, so the tanning that you saw us with earlier, that we were sat here with, we carried on throughout the afternoon, and I was quite surprised at suddenly how they started to get a lot darker, didn't they?
Yeah,
It's just like,
as we
it's
strengthen.
amazing how it really starts to take on that colour.
Yeah, we strengthen the tan and bring the tannic acid up, and it starts to colour the hide, and it's already looking like a finished hide that we just need to soften, and you'll have a nice comfy bedroll for the next camp.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then I can start making more. Gonna make loads more.
Got to make lots more, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was the idea. Get
Yeah.
the skill and, yeah, just
It's-
to fill the camp. And
Yeah, it's something that, a lot of people kind of miss out on, is that kind of camp furniture stuff. A lot of people will go straight to making benches, but you need something soft and warm to lie on. So, yeah, and sheepskins are the best thing for it.
yeah, and I kind of want to tie in that element as well, because it's all part of, between butchery, cooking, and then just using the whole of the animal.
Yeah,
And I've got some bone pieces already that I demoed to people.
yeah,
So to actually also have maybe a hide that I'm working on in between cooking food and
yeah.
would be a nice addition, I think.
I'd be so frustrated to do what you do, to put all this work in and then in 5 minutes it's gone. I couldn't
You got
stand
something
that.
to keep.
Yeah, at least the sheepskin, you still got something
Yeah,
from
my
the
food's a
animal.
memory,
Yeah,
which is all right, because if it goes wrong,
yeah, it's short-lived,
people soon forget.
short-lived failure.
Someone once said to me about food poisoning, they're like, well, you can cook food for people hundreds of times and it's fine, but the one time you give everyone food poisoning, they never let you forget.
Yeah, absolutely.
Touch wood.
As I eat your
Check in the morning. So we should probably wrap up and go and have some fun. I've got some whiskey for you.
I'm happy with that.
Oh, we didn't bring the jelly beans.
Oh, well.
Oh,
I have some spare beans.
Oh, we got some beans. We didn't mention the beans. I thought this was a joke when I first met you, and you kept talking about beans, and I'm like, this guy's like a crack addict.
It's a terrible
And,
addiction.
no, it's actual jelly beans.
Yeah, just jelly beans. Yeah, I don't need no drugs. Just the beans.
Turns out they're quite useful when you're tanning. I've discovered a love for them.
Everybody discovered today how
I think
useful
the
jelly
whole group
beans
have
are.
been high on jelly beans.
Now you see the secret of my work.
And I bought the jelly beans, so I can confirm they are real jelly beans.
They are
They're
real.
not anything
Yeah,
suspicious.
they're not suspicious beans. Yeah,
Oh, yes.
yeah, they are good beans.
Why
Yeah.
jelly beans?
Why jelly beans?
Yeah.
They're delicious and just little beans of fun. Would you like one? With your curry.
All right.
We'll
Go
add
for the
one
purple
in there for extra.
Oh,
There's the energy, they
madness.
keep you going. And they got gelatin, which comes from hides. So it's a leather
No,
workers,
they don't.
tanners.
Check the ingredients.
Well, the vegan ones don't.
These are from Aldi.
Yeah,
Not to plug Aldi, but
get a commission off that.
fuck Aldi. No, they make most of their sweets, I think, are vegan.
Yeah,
Um,
the non-vegan ones. Yeah.
so, out of 10 for the jelly beans?
Oh, 8 out of 10
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah.
only an 8. So who gets 10? Anyone?
Oh, 10 doesn't exist. 10 is no. I'd never want to reach that point. There's nothing after life once I reach 10 out of 10 jelly beans. It's not worth living. So
Has anyone reached a 9?
yeah, I've had a 9 once. They're very good. Yeah. I've tried not to go too deep into getting more. So
Are we going to name check or?
they were from the National Museum in Edinburgh.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were very good. I did.
So they did their own jelly beans.
Yeah, a guy paid me for a tattoo of jelly beans, and he was lucky. They were 9 out of 10 beans.
Is that legal tendency?
I would say so in Scotland. We'll take anything.
Come to Scotland and pay in jelly beans.
Yeah.
I feel like at this point they are going to think they're not jelly beans. We're just giggling about jelly beans.
I know, they are just...
This is genuine. This is a serious,
They are
it's a very serious conversation.
Yeah, they are just that
Straight
good.
face.
Yeah. What can I say? Like, life is fun. Don't want to be a Pict all the time.
Nah. No, they didn't have jelly beans.
Exactly. So I couldn't live back then. Everything in my life would be the same. I'd be a leather worker and a tanner.
We've got some questions that I end every podcast with,
Right.
and that's going to actually tie in quite a bit with that.
Right.
So we might have a spoiler for people there.
Right.
All right, so the first question is, if you had an unlimited budget, what would be your dream project?
That would be Pictish camps. Taking people out and exploring Pictish life out in the wilderness in Scotland. And it is something I'm actually working on with not an unlimited budget, but I really want to take people out in an immersive experience. So camps on a loch in Scotland, we'll be building coracles, tanning hides, we'll be foraging, we'll be cooking all together. So you're absolutely going to be with us on that.
Yes.
Yep. And
I'll bring jelly beans.
yep. And we're gonna we'll experiment with some music as well, but it's mostly about experiencing the life of a community traveling through the land. So kind of traveling craftsmen and how to just live, camp, craft together.
Yeah.
So it'll be how to create light and fire and create camp properly and keep warm and all this kind of stuff put in, and then an element of hiking and stuff as well. So this is all going to be this way to kind of follow in the footsteps of the ancestors in a practical
I need to move
way.
to Scotland.
You do. Everybody does.
If only.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't been there many times. I must be honest, and I've never been that far north.
Well,
so.
I've promised to take you out in the coracles, so
Yes.
you need to come up now.
Yes, I'm not going to turn that down.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So,
Cool.
yeah.
Yeah, no, that'll be awesome. You're going to do it anyway, despite budget.
Yeah.
But with an unlimited budget, it would
Yeah.
be even bigger.
Yeah, it would be. I would just wall off the whole of Scotland and bring people in to just.
Dream project is wall off Scotland.
Yep.
And you just stand on the gate deciding who comes in.
Yeah, exactly. Who brings beans and who doesn't. It's a simple job.
All right, so next question ties in a bit to what you were saying before, is do you think you could survive on a Viking Age diet?
Without beans, I would struggle. I think I could survive. I don't know about happiness levels or
But not
energy
thrive.
levels.
Survive but not thrive.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I could survive, but yeah, certainly not thrive on it. Depends on the fish as well, really.
Yeah?
Yeah, I don't know. I
Not
like a
into-
bit of fish.
Not into too much fish?
No, I like a bit of fish. So if I couldn't have
if you
fish,
couldn't have fish.
yeah,
Oh.
then that would be interesting.
I mean, yeah. It's difficult Viking Age, isn't it? Because some
Yeah.
people go, well, yeah, but the Viking Age is a time period, so actually you can go to India and they were still doing
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
But
I mean, I grew up
obviously
on-
we mean a specific diet.
Yeah, I grew up on proper Scottish food like stovies and haggis. So I imagine that would have been very similar kind of potential food as well. Scottish food's just stodgy, salty goodness.
Sounds good.
So if they had that, it'd be good.
I've got some haggis in the freezer. I should have bought you some.
Oh, yes.
Homemade. Ooh.
That good.
Homemade. Yeah. Yeah, so there is another question that's tied into that, and
Right.
this is going to be a massive surprise to people.
right.
Is there any food you'd miss on a Viking Age diet?
Yeah, beans, haggis, hands down. If they didn't have
Haggis
haggis,
is plausible.
Haggis is plausible.
It's plausible. We don't have any
Yeah.
evidence necessarily. I think Kat was talking on my previous podcast about possibly there might be some evidence it came
Yeah.
from sort of Norway, Scandinavia.
Yeah,
There's a bit of evidence from the Romans as well.
yeah,
I think the idea of a haggis is kind of
yeah.
fairly
pretty
global anyway. I mean, definitely plausible. Jelly beans?
Maybe not, but enough honey, some sweet things, and yeah, then I think I'd be all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, just.
So what's the worst thing you've ever eaten?
Yeah, that would have to be fermented fish for me, that my friend had prepared himself as a special treat. And I just met him and I was staying at his house and I had to be so polite and British about it. And I was trying not to throw up, and then he says, oh, wash it down with this jag of vodka. And I was just trying not to let it go. But yeah.
Is that why you didn't join in the Surströmming?
Yes, exactly why.
All right, so to follow on from that, what is the most memorable meal you've ever had?
Memorable meal. Oh, reindeer pizza, I think. It's very memorable. Yeah, very, very tasty.
That was a bit Scooby-Doo.
Yeah, very nice thin, like Italian style pizza, but with thin layered reindeer meat on it and like cress and stuff. It's very nice. Yeah. Oh, yeah, mouth tickler, amazing.
I think I've had reindeer. Might have had it in Norway last year, possibly. I had like a platter at Midgardblot and it had different sausages, like moose sausage and stuff. And I've got a feeling there was reindeer on that.
Probably between that and eating whale. Whale's always tasty.
I've done that once. Yeah. I felt bad.
Yeah, felt bad, but it's well. I had a friend that worked in kind of lobbying, and she said, "Well, that's kind of there's a lot of this type of whale that we eat, but I don't know."
Yeah, we had something up in Iceland. Just because I felt like I had to. I was in Iceland.
It's like a rich, rare red steak. The way I had it, it was gorgeous.
Yeah, very beefy.
Yeah,
very beefy.
Yeah, same with seal. Seal heart is delicious.
Yeah,
yeah, very good.
Got any sauces? Where can I get some?
So when they wash up, I take them. So
don't sit still for too long.
Yeah, exactly. That's why they shiver.
She's got the skin. Oh, no. All right, so there's one more question, and then we can go and enjoy the evening. After I do that, it's that bloody Surströmming. It's horrible. All right, so the last question is: you've died, and your family and friends are preparing your grave goods. What food and drink do you get to take to the feast in Valhalla?
Oh, now I'd be surrounded with jelly beans for sure. I'd have a nice big flagon of Scottish Freyok heather ale, which is my favourite drink.
Don't think I've ever had it.
Oh, I'll bring some down next time. Yeah, and lots of cake, gingerbread, walnut cake, all the dad flavours.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Carrot cake.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. I like the sweet stuff.
Talk dirty.
Yeah, there's a theme here. I like the sweet stuff, Craig. So, yeah, I think that would do me. I don't really need much else.
Have you ever tried to make like, I don't know, you've seen I've got this Skittles vodka. Have you ever tried jelly bean vodka?
Not yet. Challenge accepted. You will now get me onto being an alcoholic quite quick.
If he becomes an alcoholic, I'm no.
His next will be, have you ever tried smoking jelly beans with crack? Like, no, but I want to now. I'll ingest the bean in any form. That's the problem.
I've just remembered that before you turned up, I went out and picked some gorse. And I got some rum to make like a pina colada type thing with the wild gorse.
Yeah.
And then I didn't do anything with it.
Yeah.
So I got some dried up husk of flowers probably in the back of the van.
Right, okay.
Got any more jelly beans? We could stick them in the rum.
We could. Although I might have given the last few beans to your daughter.
He's turning my daughter into an addict.
I gave them to Emma and said she can have them if you wanted to. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's an idea though, we'll have to try that.
Yeah.
I mean, when you do Skittles, you separate out the colours.
Yeah.
And the beans you've had today are quite mixed flavours though.
Yeah.
So I don't know whether you just chuck
them all.
I'm going to have to try it now.
Maybe, you're going to have to. You're going to have to get some of the bad flavours too, just for kicks.
I reckon some sours in there, because people like their sour.
Yeah, like
spirits.
the popcorn ones.
What?
Yeah, you get like popcorn jelly beans and all sorts of weird things. Yeah. You actually get pina colada jelly beans.
What?
Yeah. I had peanut butter and jelly ones the other week. They were boffin. Bad boffin's bad. And
Is it like barfing?
I don't know,
like
just boffin. Just boffin, like boken.
Oh.
Like if someone gives you the book. So,
I know that feeling.
Yeah. Yeah, you just experienced what boffin is. So.
Ah, okay, boffin.
Yeah, and there's crazy flavours, so you could have a lot of fun with that.
Mm.
Yeah.
You're trying to get me to go down your deep dark spiral into jelly
I'll pull
beans.
everyone with me. Pull you down to my level. And
You're going to put us all in. There are worse habits.
There are.
Possibly.
Yeah, there are.
Guess it depends how much you eat.
It's my burden to bear for the world.
The Jelly Bean King.
Yeah. Jelly Bean Bandit.
You need to start a new Instagram.
Yeah, oh God.
Jelly Bean Bandit.
Yeah, that's my OnlyFans.
Yeah, you didn't plug your OnlyFans earlier.
Oh God.
Oh, this is getting silly.
Yeah.
They do a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys, if you're watching. So yeah, thanks again for coming on. That's been great. I don't know why I did that.
It's been a good giggle.
Yeah, we'll go and carry on the giggles in the longhouse, I think.
Yeah.
By the fire and get some more.
Yeah. More cider.
Whiskey.
More venison cider tonight.
Oh yes, venison cider. Try it, folks.
Yeah, this was a fun concoction last night.
But before we go and before I forget,
Yeah.
you need to plug yourself. Where can people find you?
Right. Pictavia Leather, Instagram, I'm on there, and I am on Facebook and my own website. I keep it pretty short,
Yeah.
and everything I do goes up on Instagram.
I'll pop some links underneath as well.
magic.
Make it easier.
Yeah, grand.
Imagine if they stopped putting the links underneath and I keep pointing. Like, they start doing it at the top.
Yeah, or just follow the Jelly Beans, you'll find me.
Follow the Jelly Beans.
Yeah.
There's a trail through the woods.
Yeah.
All right, thanks for watching, everyone.
Cheers.
And I'll see you next time. Goodbye. If you enjoyed the show and want to hear more, remember to like and subscribe and give the show a rating. You can also help keep the show going by becoming a Patreon, where you'll get early access to all episodes. Or check out my range of merch on my store. Links are in the episode description. Thanks for watching.